Welcome back to part 4 of all Russian guns and Phantom Forces. It seems that I've gotten on the KGB's good side, so all is well. Today I'll be reviewing another 4 guns today. The next parts will come in next week. This really is an ongoing series. I appreciate all of your support in the comments. Now let's jump right into part 4, shall we? The AK-12C. Personally, this gun can go to the trash for all I know. The AK-12C never came to exist in real life, but the closest thing there is to the AK-12C is the AK-15K. The AK-15 is basically an AK-12 chambered in 7.62 by 39. It doesn't even use a proper magazine. Why didn't stylists use that instead? I have no idea. Come on now, how hard could it be to find historically accurate guns? I did a quick search and the only things I could find about the AK-12C led me back to Phantom Forces. Anyhow, the AK-12C is unlocked at rank 51, but I seriously don't think it's worth its rank. Its damage values are unusually comparable to that of the AK-74, which uses a smaller round, 545 by 39. The AK-12C has a damage value of 39, which drops down to 21. That isn't too bad, but the AK-74 has virtually the same value with more or less recoil. The rate of fire is average at 700 rounds per minute, but lacks the burst feature that almost all other AK-12s share. Walk speed is average, so we'll skip that. Reload is also average at 2.4 seconds and 3.2 for an empty reload. Overall, the AK-12C is much less than an average carbine, and all of the guns can do a much better job than this thing. Verdict? This is the first gun that I have to say to avoid it. The AK-12C doesn't do a better job at anything really. The more popular AK variants have some things that make them stand out from the others, like the AK-47/AKM with its very high damage, or the rank 0 AK-12 with its 1000 rounds per minute burst. The AK-12C just doesn't have any of those. Overall, the AK-12C is just not that good for its rank. The RPK is basically an AK-47/AKM that just had a longer and heavier barrel, along with a heavier stock. The RPK was made when Russia wanted an LMG to replace the RPD, the bell-fed gun designed by Degtyaryov, the same person who designed the famous DP-28 machine gun. Anyhow, the RPK is an LMG that you obtain at rank 54. To say the least, the damage value of the RPK is a little bit better than that of the AK-47. It has a damage value of 42, which dropped down to 32. It has a reload rate of 2.9 seconds and an empty reload of 3.6. The RPK has an impressive 45 round magazine. While one would like the 75 round drum, the 45 round mag is still more than enough. The rate of fire is average for its family, being 600 rounds per minute. Walk speed is average for an LMG, being 12 studs per second, so it's best to pull out your melee or secondary to get to the combat area before pulling out the RPK. The RPK is surprisingly controllable if you have all the modifications, that being folding stubby grip, muzzle brake, and blue laser. There's a bipod that can't be used for some reason. Please stylists, just add the bipod to make your lives better. Overall, this thing could be treated as an AK with more rounds, but you can't be overly aggressive with this thing as it's slower than your average gun in PF. Verdict? Use it. The RPK is a very fun gun to use, and I did at one point say that it was a more socially acceptable M60, even though it doesn't have the same effectiveness as the M60. Its recoil is manageable and damage is still very good regardless at what distance you use it at. The KS-23M is a shortened down version of the KS-23, which is basically a carbine. Why? I have no idea. The KS-23 uses a 23mm anti-aircraft barrel, hence the name of 23. The KS also stands for Karabin Specjalny, which translates to special carbine. The 23mm barrel is supposedly taken from the ZU-23 anti-aircraft barrel. That's right, an anti-aircraft barrel. The shells themselves are not 12 gauge, they're 23mm. That practically explains why it's stupidly accurate. Back to the KS-23M. The KS-23M is unlocked at rank 56. The scary fact about the KS-23M is its damage value, and the spread. Each pellet could do 37 to 21 damage. Combine the fact that it has a type of spread and 8 pellets, and this thing could one-shot at average engaging distance. Walk speed is still average at 14 steps per second. The KS-23M has two severe drawbacks, its low mag capacity and the slow rate of fire. By default, it has 3 shells, but you can add one more into the chamber, bumping it up to 4. Second drawback has to do with the slow rate of fire. Every other shotgun in the game could fire faster than the KS-23, which is understandable since they have more spread than the KS-23. In short, this thing is best used at mid-range, where the spread is still effective, but your rate of fire won't get in the way too much. I recommend running Flechette with this thing to make the spread even tighter to hit targets at farther distances, while still being effective at close range due to its raw damage. Verdict? Use it. While this shotgun isn't really meant for everyone, given that it's easy to use but hard to master, some say it's just another point-and-click adventure with the KS-23. But the KS-23 is more punishing than other shotguns due to its low rate of fire. The sound that they use for the KS-23 makes it sound as if it has the power, just like the 50 cals. From one Russian shotgun to another, the SEGA 12 is basically an AK turned into a shotgun. The name, SEGA, is named after the SEGA antelope. Unfortunately, whenever people say SEGA nowadays, they automatically think about the SEGA 12 shotgun. Anyhow, the SEGA could potentially be in 20 gauge and 410 bore, the same round that the judge uses in Phantom Forces. In Phantom Forces, the SEGA is unlocked at rank 63 and lacks its proper automatic feature. It has a rate of fire cap at 350 rounds per minute, which is pretty decent for a shotgun. If you add the full auto attachment, you don't have to use a macro auto clicker, but really it isn't all that worth it since it does increase the spread of the pellets. The SEGA 12 has a base damage value of 27, which drops down to 17. It's not too reliable at ranges due to said damage values along with some spread. Remember, this is a semi-automatic shotgun, not the other shotguns that could potentially two-shot some things at 150 studs. As per usual, it has 8 pellets by default. Walk speed is 14 studs per second, so don't make me talk more about that. Its reload is very slow however, 3.5 for a tactical reload and 4.4 for an empty reload. If anything, you're better off using something else like the KSG. However, just because it's less optimal than other shotguns doesn't mean it's bad. It's still fun to use in certain maps like Metro and the interior of Highway Lot. The SEGA is a close range oriented shotgun and performs very well in CQC maps. Verdict? Use it. While the KS-23 excels in mid-range, the SEGA excels at close range. If you're suffering at close ranges while using the KS-23, the SEGA will be your answer. While the SEGA doesn't perform too well at ranges, it's still a great semi-automatic shotgun to use. Just don't buy the automatic features because it's absolutely useless and it will hinder your performance. And just like that, we already finished part 4. I've heard some of you say that part 3 had an issue where the music basically drowned out my voice. I already knew this issue post-editing, but it was pretty much too late to do anything really. Let me know if you want me to post part 3 again with the music being quieter. Anyhow, like if you find this useful and subscribe for more Phantom Forces content.